Welcome to the ride with Wild Wayne Cartwright, an exciting thrill ride through the wonderful world of HBCU athletics. Before our trip begins, let's set a few ground rules. First, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Second, hit the like button. Third, please be sure to tell someone else about this show. Now that we've got these things out of the way, it's time for our journey to begin. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your ride.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the season opener of Wild Picks here on the ride. We are at the point where we're ready to kick the season off, and we're going to start this thing tonight in grand style. So I am pleased tonight to be joined by two ambassadors of HBCU sports that are representing both of the institutions that are playing in this game that we're kicking off on Saturday night in Atlanta. So, representing Southern University, BJ Jones. What's up, BJ?
What's going on, Wayne, man? How you doing?
Doing great, man. And I'm pleased to welcome to the ride for the very first time, meeting virtually for the first time, representing North Carolina Central, Mr. Josh Sims. Good evening, sir.
What's up, brother? How you doing, man? How you doing, man?
Hey, man, I'm blessed and highly favored, man. So
I know that's
I know I've been watching you guys on HBCU Nightly for a minute. I've met BJ in person before, and I've been a fan of you guys, the work that you guys do, and I wanted to just have you both on for this joyous occasion. I'm gonna say it's a joyous occasion right now, because I know that once the game kicks off on Saturday, it might not be a joyous occasion. It'll be joyous for one.
Yeah. So, that's the nature of the game. Yes, the nature of the game. That's how it is. It's got to be winners and it's got to be losers. But it's going to be a joyous occasion either way. I get a chance to see my brother. It's an absolute pleasure to meet you and get a chance to speak with you. But it's going to be a joyous occasion either way. But, once we roll that pigskin out, BJ and I both are the same way, man. Once that pigskin roll out, we get kind of serious and want to make sure we're paying attention to the game and what's happening and all the pomp and circumstance, and it won't be over till it's all zeros on the clock.
All right. Well, so here's how we're going to roll this thing tonight, everybody. These gentlemen are going to break down the game. I've got some information for both of you to speak from and to speak to. I'm just going to open the floor up to you guys, and also everybody that's in the comments. Make sure that you like, you share, you subscribe, and also participate, because trash talk is all fair game. We love it. All right. So here's what we're here for. We've got the game going on. You know it. It's been talked about for months. You've seen all the press conferences. You've seen the shows. You've seen the picks. You've seen the predictions. Every year about this time, it kicks off. It's going down one more time. Center Park Stadium, Atlanta. National televised audience. Southern, North Carolina Central. 7:30 p.m. down there, going down Saturday night. So the last meeting, and Josh, you probably remember this very, very well. The last meeting, 2006. Both of you guys talk about 2006 real quick before we get into 2025.
Well, I could say without a shadow of a doubt, I was not a student athlete at North Carolina Central University in 2006. I wasn't there yet, but I do remember this game. I remember traveling down with my family to this game. And I remember, Central was an incredible Division II program at that time. HBCU national champions this year. Southern was not the only Division I program that we ended up beating that season. We of course did as we always for the most part did as a Division II program in 2000s. We beat up on the school down the highway as often as possible. And so but this was a good ball game, man. We that North Carolina Central squad was special. Quarterback Stafford Brown was there, setting the pace. We still had Coach Broadway as our head coach. Of course, he was with us before he went down to Grambling, and then of course, before he went to the school down the highway and brought them some success. But at this time, man, this was if anybody can remember what Benedict had, what they looked like the last few years under Chennis Berry, that is essentially what North Carolina Central looked like at that time. But was not afraid to go play Division I foes. And on this day, man, we happened to catch them down in Baton Rouge. But it was a good ball game, man. I remember being there my first time in the state of Louisiana, and it was a good ball game, man. And the experience helped us, but then this season in particular is what led us to start our transition to Division I and be the Division I program that we are today.
BJ?
I would say this is one of those games that a lot of people talked about during the summer. And I think one of the things when we have these ball games, and Will, you've seen it before, sometimes we get that SWAC arrogance about ourselves. And we tried to warn against that. North Carolina Central the year before, 2005, finished the season in the top 5 in Division II nationally. Hell of a ball club. They brought back a lot. Rob Broadway had them rolling. When they came down to Baton Rouge, they were ranked, I think, either 2 or 3 in the nation in Division II. And before you could blink, it was 20-0, I think, at the end of the first quarter. Yeah. Central came in and made a statement. And when you have a ball game like that and you get punched in the mouth and you're down 20-0, it's a long climb back. And too little, too late. A Central team that people laughed and scoffed about before during the summer. A lot of people weren't familiar with North Carolina Central nor the CIAA. Got real familiar that day. And I think that's what helped put a lot of eyes on Rob Broadway coming to the state of Louisiana and making a statement that he did, because the very next year he was the head coach at Grambling State University.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Mo Carter, hey, shout out to Mo. He said in 2006, NC Central took advantage of 3 first-half turnovers by the Jags, including a 96-yard pick 6 on our first drive. Yeah. So that was 2006. So now we're here in 2025, and here's a little bit of what it was for both teams last year. All right, the tail of the tape. Both teams won 8 games. You see the points per game. And then you see going on down. So BJ, you can talk about your Southern Jags from last year first.
I mean, last year, I'm one of those people. I tell people I am not a Southern beat writer. I'm not here to. I'm gonna tell the truth about Southern like I tell about anybody else. So one thing you ain't gonna ever catch anyone able to say about me is that I'm biased. Keep it honest. I think Southern had a pretty good season, all things considered. But I think that also Southern left a lot of meat on the bone. All right. That 8-5 on paper looks good. All right. Those 5 losses were by an average of 24.4 points. Those 8 wins, of those 8 wins, 0 of those wins came against teams that finished with a winning record. So, yes, Southern 8-5 on paper looked good. You got to a SWAC championship game. But I will always say this. When you get to a championship game, when you play those contenders and you are on average 3 scores, they're 3 scores better than you. You're close, but yet still so far. And I think that's the stepping stone going into this year, closing that gap and getting a few of those wins over those contenders, because that's what makes you a champion. And
Yeah,
at
and
Southern, that's what you don't get judged on going 8-5. You don't get no free will in Baton Rouge for that. You have to win titles in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
yeah, and inside of that, you guys won 3 overtime games. One
Yeah.
that was 5 overtimes, and then game that I know all too well. I was there. You guys beat my boys in the final possession. So you guys won the close games. Now, Josh, you guys on the other side, you guys were 8-3, and everything was obviously everybody looks at the South Carolina State game, but just summarize just a little bit of how your offense was last year.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things that makes the partnership that BJ and myself have has that is so pivotal is, you know, I'm biased. I'm biased to North Carolina Central. I'm biased as a mug, but I'm also honest about the fact, and BJ knows this. I'm able to put my bias to the side when we start talking about this game, because this game requires integrity to be able to talk about it, and you got to be able to put what you feel about your program and your institution to the side to be able to get directly to the numbers. So let's talk about this, right? In the 2 games, in 2 of the 3 losses that North Carolina Central had last year, both of them had one similar thing in context. In both of those games, offensive coordinator Matt Leone it took him a whole half to figure out what the defending defense was looking like. Against Elon in the early part of the season, when it looked like North Carolina Central was not going to find its way early in the season, against Elon in what was, in my opinion, our worst loss of the season, ended up coming back to bite us, because we ended up being 1 game short of going to the Celebration Bowl, and with 8 wins and 3 losses, we felt like we were in a position to be able to get back to the FCS playoffs. But because of a 41-17 loss against Elon, which again took us a half to figure out Elon's defense, once we figured it out, it was too little too late. And so in that game, very similar to the same with South Carolina State, took us a whole half to figure out what South Carolina State's defense was going to look like. Took us a whole half to figure out how that defense was going to kind of try to attack us. And in both of those games, you had 2 brand new defensive coordinators on the other side of the ball for both of those programs. Elon with brand new defensive coordinator Devontae Edwards last year, who's actually coming from North Carolina Central a couple seasons prior and had taken over the full-time reins as defensive coordinator Elon. And then at South Carolina State, they had a brand new staff top to bottom. And you just didn't have enough information, enough film to be able to know how they would try to attack this type of squad. But again, a tale of 2 halves in that game, except for with Elon, it was a little too late. And with South Carolina State, there was an opportunity in 1 possession for us to possibly take that W. Our only other L last season was against FBS ACC for University of North Carolina Chapel Hill. Again, if Walker Harris walks out of that locker room in the second half, who knows what that game looks like? But I don't delve in ifs, and I don't delve in buts. We lost that game, and unfortunately, that was the result of the game. Here's the reality when you look at this 8-3. First, we did not take advantage of having 12 games last season. We could have. We only played 11 games last season. I think that if we would have been 9-3, we would have maybe given ourselves an opportunity to kind of convince the FCS playoffs committee to be able to let us in at a large bid. The second part of that is that this defense was very, very young last year. The only places where we had some depth as far as some age and experience was on the interior defensive line. This season, it's actually the opposite. Everywhere else, this team has some experience, and the interior D line is the one where we'll have to be able to make sure we grow up a little bit. And some of these guys that had a chance to get some depth last year early and often can be able to step up. But the most impressive part about this team last year clearly was the offense, led by Jamari Taylor at running back, who's now at the University of Virginia, and as well as Walker Harris, who did not play in 2 full games last season as well. Didn't play in the last game, unfortunately, because of the conundrum that happened against Howard University in the last home season game, and then did not play in the second half of the game against Virginia Lynchburg, and didn't play for 3 quarters against the Virginia Lynchburg team, and then didn't play in the second half of the University of North Carolina Chapel Hill game. So you got a guy this is his 5th year in the program. He's experienced. What North Carolina Central has shown is that they have the ability to grow and develop. And so this is a microcosm of just the development of the program and to the stature of what in the stance that Coach Trey Oliver has said as far as this is culture over scheme. Our goal and our moniker is culture over scheme. The standard is the standard. 8-3 was not the standard. Our goal, this could have been, should have been, and would have been our 4th MEAC championship in a row, but we fell short. And nobody to blame but ourselves. And we've got to find a way to be able to right that ship this season in the 2025 campaign.
Yeah, and then also this was just a little bit of the defense, as you mentioned, and then we'll close that out from last year, and now we get into this year. All right, the key players that are on offense, and there are other players that will have impacts and should have impacts in the game on offense, but these are the players that we have, some of the keys and some of the guys that you probably know as household names that are on offense. Now, BJ, looking at Southern, I know that Coach Graves said that he didn't want to name a starting quarterback. Obviously, a lot of folks have feelings about who that possibly could be and who it probably will be, but I'll let you take the swing here about your key players on offense.
I think it starts that group that you got, Juan Gonzalez, Josh Trask, Jerome Wallace, starts with offensive line. I know that's not sexy. I know that doesn't get people excited, and people will tell you it starts with the quarterback. But anyone that knows this game tells you it doesn't matter who you have at quarterback, nor who you have at receiver if the job ain't getting done up front. My head coach from college used to say this. These are the words of Pete Richardson. You can have Jesus and his disciples at quarterback and receiver, and if you can't take care of up front, it doesn't matter. All right, it does not matter. So I think that it starts with the offensive line. The offensive line at one point last year was the worst that we had seen in Southern University history. They were that bad at certain points last year. But shout out to Damon Nivens, offensive line coach, Southern University. Great. He made some shifts and some tweaks to his lineup. And that's when that offensive line really started coming together, and they looked a lot better the second half of the season compared to the first half. So I think it starts there. You want to have those guys grown and matured over the spring and summer and develop in their position. If they have that bodes well, and that's going to lead me to my next guy, quarterback. Jalen Woods is an Atlanta kid, right here, played here in Atlanta. He'll be coming home, so I'm pretty sure there's a lot of pressure on him internally. I'm pretty sure his ticket request probably looks off the chains, but I think that he has an opportunity to come back home and on the big stage and make a big name for himself. I'm a fan of the young man. I watched him play when he was at Marietta High School, and then when he transferred over to I can't forget the private school that he went to over there in East Point, but he plays the game well. He has all the skills, all the tools, and we can see if he can put it together. Now, there's a name in that receiver group that you might want to circle because I think this kid may have a big game, and it's Darren Morris. I think Darren Morris. I think Darren Morris is a playmaker. He's explosive. Thank you, Zach Woodward Academy. Is where Jalen Woods went. I think he's explosive. This team drops the ball. The receivers last year dropped the ball in crucial situations. That has to be limited. And then Dupree, the tight end, he's one of the best tight ends you'll see in the country. But we got to get the ball to him. But like I said, it all starts up front on that offensive line.
Yeah, and before I switch over to Josh, what are your thoughts on your running backs there? I know a lot has talked about Trey Holly. I know Mike Franklin. He got a lot of the news early from transferring from Jacksonville State.
Well, I heard a lot of positive things about them. You know, we lost our home run hitters from last year. So some new backs in the backfield. Everybody's excited about Trey Holly. He's a state of Louisiana legend. all-time leading rusher in the state of Louisiana. Of course, signed with LSU, spent some time there last year. Got a little burn down there and looked good in spots at LSU. And he's been the talk of camp. That's another young man that has an opportunity to really get his name out there, to really explode out into the spotlight. So I like him and Franklin. I think they can be a hell of a 1-2 punch.
All right. Now, switching over to the other side, Josh. Now, I had the opportunity in the press conference this week. I asked Coach Oliver about Christian Mosley, and he talked about how he wished that he would have gotten him a little more work last year. He said that he describes this kid as someone that can take it to the house at any time.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about your offense there.
Yeah, I mean, if you start really right there at the top, we can start right there at Chris Mosley, man. This is lightning in the bottle, man. The unfortunate part is that, he kind of had to play spell back last year to 1,000-yard rusher, 1,100-yard rusher in Jamari Taylor last year, who, for all expansive reasons, was 1A, 1B best running back in HBCU football last year. Contingently could be able to say one of the best running backs in FCS football last season. Simo had to kind of step into some moments, and when he did have to step in, he shined. I think last year he may have finished with right at 6 or 7 total touchdowns between both rushing and receiving last year. Mostly played a superior status as it pertained to punt return and kick return as well, and special teams for us. But with having Jamari Taylor last year inside of the fold, it was very, very difficult, man. That was a 3-down back last year who now is getting the opportunity to go play at the University of Virginia. But Simo is lightning in the bottle, man. I think a lot of people are going to be very, very, very surprised at what they see from Simo. But it doesn't end with Simo in that running back room, man. You got Arthur Rogers, Zion Dobson, who was a freshman, who was the Gatorade player, the South Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year, that we found a way to kind of slip into the back door and get out of the state of South Carolina and get up to North Carolina Central, which is very rare. I mean, you don't generally hear a whole lot of programs on the FCS level be able to go in and get Gatorade Players of the Year from any state, and we were able to go do that south of the border, which is incredible. But also Arthur Rogers, who was a Marshall transfer, built very, very similar to a guy that a lot of folks found very, very familiar, that I know my Jackson State folks found to be very familiar in the Celebration Bowl a few years ago. He's built very, very similar to Mookie Colliers, to Latrell Mookie Colliers, who very, very stout, big back, who has a lot of great balance, can be able to read the back in the holes and be able to get upfield. In the receiver room, man, it's deeper than these three guys, but I'm very, very impressed with what I've seen from year 1 to year 2 in Chance Peterson. Local kid right out of Raleigh, North Carolina. This kid reminds me a lot of one of my teammates that I played with at North Carolina Central, Giovanni Irvine, who was an All-American in his own right, was a box to row All-American in his own right. A kid that can play inside. Sometimes you can line him up outside. They're trying to take advantage of the mismatch. And really, if you don't get your hands on him, you're going to be chasing him. And so he's a kid that him and Walker Harris have a great amount of chemistry. But, the elder statesmen in the wide receiver room is Chauncey Spikes and Quinn McCall, who we're glad to have back fully healthy 100%, right out of the Charlotte, North Carolina area with Quinn. And Q is right into that fold that people have gotten used to seeing from North Carolina Central, that 6'3", 6'4" receiver, big body receiver who can take the top off of the field, but that has the size, that pro size, to be able to make a difference up and down the field. And then Chauncey Spikes is a guy, very great possession receiver that can be able to get in and out, but can also stretch the field, has a tricky kind of speed to him. And we saw that a little bit in the Campbell game last season. But really, I mean, my most impressive part of this offense is clearly the offensive line. A lot of continuity, a lot of experience in this offensive line. Trey Humphrey has gotten all of the preseason acclaim that you could probably find that you would want in an offensive lineman. AC McMoore is a returning guy, again, right from south of the border, man. Right in South Carolina, we were able to go get him. Noah McKinney kind of sharing up that center spot has been great for us, man, and has provided some continuity since we lost a guy who's in the National Football League now playing for the New Orleans Saints. And so, and everybody else, man, you got Teron Williams, who is also an offensive tackle, a grown man, 6'7", 320 pounds, man. That's a big boy. We think he's, him being back this year and having the continuity of this group. And only time will tell what happens with this offensive line group. Sorry, my daughters are back there. They back there playing. So, tight end is tight end is going to be interesting. It's going to be tight end by committee, but absolutely led by Luke Bracey, who is the elder statesman in the room. But you also got Ryan, who's in that room, who is also a senior, redshirt senior, who's been around the program a long time. And then, of course, I cannot go any further without talking about QB1, Walker Harris, who sat behind, who patiently sat behind, who I often refer to be as the greatest quarterback who ever put on the maroon and gray, and Davius Richard. Waited his time, sat behind, was developed, took his time when he had chances to be able to get in and play. He took advantage of them. He won some games even as a backup, stepped in and did his thing. And so I think Walker Harris is poised to have another great big time season, and we're looking to see him play all 12 games this season.
All right. We'll come back to this offense here in a couple of slides. Now we're gonna switch over to the defense. So now with the defense, obviously for you, Josh, Max Urin is one of my favorite guys, not just on your team, but just in all of HBCU football. Just linebacker toughness, everything. I asked Coach Oliver about what he's meant to the program and how much has he taken a lead in the program now as a senior. And he said that he's really been taking a lot of the guys under his wing. He's really been a leader. He's been a voice. He's found a lot more of his voice. And also the other guy that I also really like for you guys is Malcolm Reed. Malcolm Reed in the secondary. So your defense, Josh.
Yeah, man. If I start in that defensive back room, clearly, man, you look at these guys, all three of these guys, man, and all three of them are special. And they're all special for a caveat of different reasons, man. Malcolm Reed, preseason All-American. He's going to kind of lay into that what we've become as a Division I tradition of North Carolina Central DBs who will get the opportunity to play on Sundays if he's consistent and does the things that we know he can be able to do. Jelani Vassell out there at the corner spot. He's going to be very, very impressive this year. A full season of him healthy is a great sign for this North Carolina Central defense. Eric Adams back there as safety, as the other safety opposite side of Malcolm Reed, is going to be able to he's going to pose some problems, man, some matchup problems for some offenses. Just because he's a Swiss Army knife, man, he can come down into the box and play as your overhang defender. He can step back and he can play man up. He can definitely play inside the zone as well and kind of cover a side of the field and cover areas. So Eric is a Swiss Army knife, man. He's one of those type of safeties. Again, reminds me of a guy I played with at North Carolina Central named James Reese, who just can be able to come down, man, and he does not have a problem with contact, man. He want to come down and hit you. And coming off of the guys that we've had, like the Cole Jones of the world, this is a guy that feels very, very familiar to this North Carolina Central defense. On the defensive line, Christian Smith is the guy, man. Him and Makai McCall, those are the guys, man. But you also got some other guys on here. You got DJ who's back and he's healthy. We get a full season with DJ this year. It's going to be a great season. Interior D line was an issue, as was a question, not an issue. Was a question for us coming into this offseason, coming into this season. But to have a Christian Smith there that's going to be able to man up the interior D line, can line up in different techniques. Makai McCall is an edge rusher who can be able to bring some pressure. We added some depth on the defensive end spots on the exterior, some guys that can be able to get up the field and kind of spread the gaps and be able to open up the lanes for a guy like I'm getting ready to talk about now. You talk about a Max Urin, who is from the crib. First of all, he's from the crib. He's from Winston-Salem, from the crib. Max is a football player. He is a football player. And you can describe him in a lot of different ways, but this is a guy that whether you give him 50, 60, 70 to 100 snaps, he's going to give you everything he has every single snap. You get down, he doesn't get his head down. And at North Carolina Central, especially on the defensive side of the ball, we talk about the temperature, the thermostat mentality. Never get too high, never get too low. Stay right there at that 71, 72 degree where it feels like perfect weather. Because you never want to be never too hot, never want to be too cold. And Max is the definition of that. A guy who waited his turn to be the leader on the defensive side of the ball. A guy who waited his turn in that linebacker room with guys for the last 3 years, like Jacob Brevard, who was in that room, who led that room. Max sat back and he watched Jakai and how Jakai led that room and how that linebacker room is expected to lead the defense. And then under brand new defensive coordinator Jesse Thompson, I think Max is the perfect type of guy for Coach Thompson to be able to lead this defense. So I couldn't be more proud of that kid. I couldn't be more proud of this defense, man. This is the side of the ball that I'm most excited about because I think these young men have something to be able to prove. Knowing that they've lost a couple guys to the National Football League over the last few years. These guys have something to be able to prove to say the standard is still the standard. New defensive coordinator, new system, new concept, new approach, new philosophy, but the same mentality, and that's get after people and go stop the ball.
Yeah. Now on the other side here for you guys, BJ, I know Kelby Givens gets a lot of the headlines, and that's for good reason. With 12 sacks last year, 27.5 tackles for loss. He's pretty much a force. Obviously, Vinny Page, that's another guy who gets it. But this secondary is something that Coach Graves really spoke highly of. He talked about Elijah West as a Swiss Army knife. He said he not only can play corner, he can play safety. And obviously, you have your two safeties with Brister and Johnson. So for you, BJ, your defense.
Oh, man, everyone's going to talk about number one. Kelby Givens, one of the best players in the country. I think this is a young man that a lot of people may not know about, but I think that he has an opportunity Saturday to really put his name out there. I think he's a hell of a young man. Could have gone some other places during the off season, but decided to come back and finish it. I like watching number one play the game of football, and he comes with it every play, and it doesn't matter if he's 10% or 100%. So shout out to that young man. Vince Page, linebacker. I think Vince Page flashed so much last year. There was times where Vince looked like the best linebacker in the conference, and then there was some time that Vince kind of, I need for Vince to flash all the time and be that guy all the time, man. His ceiling is so high, man, so high. Mike, and we're bringing in new linebackers. We've lost a linebacker crew from last year. With seniors outside of Vince. So, got a bunch of young guys are going to be rolling in there. They're athletic, they're lean. And one thing about this defense that has been it's been constant, is that this defense has shown up every year. No matter what the offense has done, and the offense ain't done much. The defense has shown up every year. And the secondary, this is the place where you have the most returning starters, you have the most experience. When you look at those four names right there, they got some game time under their belt. All right, they've been taking some live bullets. And the versatility back there, you got guys that can play both position. And this is the thing about that secondary, right? They tackle, and they tackle well. They tackle well, and that's something that you don't see with secondary play as often as you did back in the day. Now we're seeing more guys who can cover in space. That are outstanding in the pass game, but you let a running back get past that first level, and they're diving at feet. You ain't gonna get this with these defensive backs. So I think that this defensive unit, I think that this has been the one constant, man. Shout out to defensive coordinator Henry Miller, who was a cornerbacks coach when I was at Southern, but he's the coordinator now. He's done a hell of a job every year he's been at Southern, and there's quite a few young guys that's not listed that you're going to see come in and get an opportunity to make some plays early on in their careers, and they get an opportunity to do it on the big stage in Atlanta on ABC Saturday night. You can't ask for anything better than that.
All right, now we switch over to the coaches, man. So we know Terrence Graves 2nd year, Trey Oliver 6th year. Some of the names you guys already talked about. Hey, you guys, I want to ask right here with these guys. All right, Let's go BJ, Mark Frederick against Jesse Thompson.
I think the biggest thing for Mark, man, is that if there was a gripe, can we call it a gripe? We call it a gripe from Southern fans about the offense, is that it was not creative. It was inside zone on first down. It was inside zone on second down. Depending on if it was a third and short, a third and medium, it was either another inside zone or a throw to the flats. So with Mark, the word is that the playbook is going to be open. Because last year we didn't see a lot. All right, we did not see a lot. So I would say going against Thompson, who's working with a lot, it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think for this offense, it all starts up front, because if Southern can't run the ball, and now you're in a situation where it's must pass, that's when Jesse Thompson and this defense, that's when they really, really get after you. And I want people to Google the defensive line coach at North Carolina Central. He does something special with young men that have their hands in the dirt. He's one of the best in the business. You don't want to be in a must pass, and we know you pass type situation with the guys that he trains up and he coaches. It's a recipe for disaster.
Look at Children said, we probably made it to page 5 last year. Can we get to page 10? I had to laugh at that, man. That's funny. So, all right. So on the other side, Josh, I know you're talking about Matt Leone.
Yeah.
So, and he's going to go up against defensive coordinator Henry Miller. So talk about Matt Leone and his matchup there.
Yeah, man, this is the matchup from a coach's perspective. This is the matchup of the night. This is the matchup of the night. Seasoned veteran, man. I've been honest about. I've been open and honest about my love and admiration for Matt Leone, man, who came to us from Southern. Man, he was the quarterbacks coach previously, the quarterbacks coach at Southern, and then came to us, after year 2, in the Trey Oliver era, and has been nothing short of magnificent, man. This gentleman understands how to be able to take advantage of it. And the interesting part about Matt Leone is this brother takes notes, mental notes of everything that's going on in the game. If he runs it in the first series and he notices something that the defense does, that's human nature, he makes a mental note. And he may not come back to it in the second series, but he may come back to it in the third series. And in that third series, he's looking to be able to make it be a deadly mistake if you continue to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And so, I'm excited about Matt Leone. But Henry Miller, man, this is Coach Miller. For Coach Miller, man, that defensive line, you got a stud, a grown man in Kelby Givens. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm glad I don't have no more eligibility. I'm glad I'm not playing this game. I'm not the guy who's got to be trying to chip off the edge with Kelby Givens right there, man. That's a grown man. But this defensive back room is at Southern is what I'm really, really excited about, man. This defensive back room is darn good, man. And don't let nobody tell you nothing different. This defensive back room is good. I think these guys, who a couple of them was young last year, they older this year. They got some seasoning in them, and they've had a chance to get some time with some live bullets. And you start talking about if this defense starts to stop the run, and it forces us to be one-dimensional and have to pass the ball, I still think we got enough talent on the offensive line, on offense, to be able to get that done. But you don't ever want to be one-dimensional. You don't ever want a defense to take an entire version of your game away. And so, this offensive line is up for a tall task, man. This is not going to be an easy situation. This defensive line is the real deal. And if they've shored up that interior D line, we in for a good game here, man. We in for some real battles inside of the trenches, man. My expectation is that this offense will look early and often and look very, very will click early and often. But if we start seeing this offense having to be one-dimensional, man, I expect Matt Leone to have to go deep into that bag, and we're gonna see if that can be able to work with this defensive back this season, defensive back room.
Yeah. Now, a couple of the intangibles that I put here. Now, obviously, we could have put all the coaches, but I wanted to highlight there at the bottom, quarterback coach. Fred McNair is now the quarterback coach at Southern, and then the aforementioned legend that you talked about, Josh Davis Richard. So, both of you guys, whoever wants to go first, talk about that intangible in relation to this game, man. Because first game out, this is pretty key, especially for Southern.
I think for Southern, Fred McNair was a crucial piece to this staff. I think he coming along with head coaching experience and his pedigree really helped Coach Terrence Graves in his first year as a head coach. If you were at Southern games, you saw how active Fred McNair was, working the sidelines, even working the officials. This is a guy that has done wonders with quarterbacks and offenses. And I think having him as the quarterbacks coach with what he did when he was at Alcorn with those different quarterbacks, I think that it pays dividends. And I think on the other side, man, you got the Green Eye Bandit over there, man. A guy who was one of the best players at that position in HBCU football that we've seen in the last 20, 25 years. I don't think people realize how special Davis Richard was. And now to have him on the sideline over there, teaching Walker Harris in that quarterback room, I mean, that bodes well for North Carolina Central.
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah, man. I'll start with Coach McNair, man. This is a guy you cannot duplicate and or replicate experience and wisdom. And Coach Fred McNair, and not that Coach Terrence Graves needs some additional wisdom because he's an elder statesman in himself and understands this game better than 95% of the people that's walking on this planet. But you cannot replicate and duplicate the wisdom that comes with live bullets when you're the head guy. And to have a guy like a Fred McNair, who has been as accomplished as a head coach as he was at Alcorn State, you look at him being right there with Coach Terrence Graves, and that is without a shadow of a doubt a plus for Coach Graves to be able to have inside of his coaching room with him, breaking down the film, looking at the different things, the small intangible things that most people don't understand. Hey man, coach, where should we put the ball in this type of situation? When you're coming out of a timeout, you're coming out of a punt, do we want to put the ball in the middle of the field? Do we want to put it on different hashes? Here's why, coach, this is what you want to do. And here's why. If for anything, I can give you my opinion and what I would do in a situation like that. And you're not talking about a guy who was unsuccessful as a head coach. You're talking about a guy who was very, very successful as a head coach at Alcorn State. And unfortunately, it ended up ending the way that it did at Alcorn State for him. But then, on the other side, man, this is a young man in Davis Richard who, for all God honest truth, man, should be playing on Sundays right now. I don't know if he should be the first or second string, but he should be on the National Football League roster. This is a guy that on the draft days, his name popped up as one of the best available. How often do we see HBCU quarterbacks be on the Mel Kiper list and the Todd McShay list and the Jordan Reed list of best available still in the draft?
You don't see it.
We don't see it. So this young man, the fact that his name showed up, it was on day 3. I remember taking a picture of it. I've got it printed out. I got it inside my office. So one day I'm going to actually give it to him and I'm going to show him, hey, man, this is how special you were. In a program, and I don't think people understand, this is a program that we fought for a long time. For some of our folks, we have a very, very storied football program with a lot of guys that's coaching on a lot of different levels. We've asked for some of our greats to always come back and be able to bestow their wisdom and information back on the young fellas so that they don't have to start from the same position that we had to start from. So the fact that, who in my opinion is the greatest quarterback that has ever put on a maroon and gray jersey, back on this coaching staff and coaching the position that led us to an HBCU national championship is a phenomenal plus, man, especially because this young man, unfortunately, he was medically retired because of an ankle injury that he suffered inside of an All-Star game. That was an unfortunality. But for Trey Oliver to reach out and say, hey, man, you were one of my first recruits. You were one of the first guys I brought in here. You brought us to national prominence. You always got a spot here on this staff if you want to come stay around the game. And for Davis to take that on and to be promoted to quarterback coach as quickly as he was promoted this spring is amazing, man. It's a phenomenal story. We look forward to, I anticipate that ABC is going to say something about it on Saturday with Davis being there on the sidelines. But my expectation is that both of these guys being inside of the coach's room is an added bonus and a plus.
That's what's up. All right, now it's time to start getting into the grudge match. All right, when Southern is on offense versus the North Carolina Central defense. All right, fellas, the floor is yours.
We're gonna have to try to neutralize them, man. I actually expect the offense coordinator at Southern, man. It's very, very difficult for you to be super creative in your first year as OC. We saw it with Matt Leone, man. Matt Leone's first year, he was not super duper. He was not the Matt Leone that many people see now in his first year at North Carolina Central. And a lot of that was because he was trying to fill out what he had inside of his room with live bullets. It's one thing to go through your first spring with a group and have to call plays from that perspective. It's another thing to go through the summer and all of that stuff and go through camp. But then when you get into the game, it's different. You just don't know. And so, I believe that offense coordinator Frederick last year was very, very timid because I believe maybe early and often he saw, hey, man, with this group, I'm not sure. I haven't gotten enough live reps and live bullets with these guys to be able to take some chances. My expectation is that he's going to take some chances in this game because what do you have to lose? I've said it multiple times. At the end of this game, this does not signal for either one of these programs what their season is going to look like. What this does is it allows for both of these programs to know and understand what they have before everybody else in the country. That's different for other programs that have played in this game. For these two teams who were one game short of the Celebration Bowl last year, both of them, one loss away from making it to the Celebration Bowl last year. This is a measuring stick. For this offense, for this North Carolina Central defense, it's a measuring stick, man. It's an opportunity for both of these teams to be able to measure and see what will we look like, and they get an earlier opportunity than everybody else does the following week. And so I expect this offense to take some shots. I expect this offense to take some chances so that they can know as it gets later on into the season that they can be able to take some chances. I tell you this, if this offense figures it out early, you ain't going to want to see this team week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5 if this offense figures it out on Saturday against North Carolina Central. If they can figure it out against a caliber of a program like North Carolina Central on Saturday on the big stage under the bright lights, God be more love me. SWAC, y'all in for a problem, man. I'm telling you, you in for a problem because what we do know is that Southern ain't going to never be short of no athletes. And they're going to always have some speed. They're going to always have some guys that can go. So I'm hoping that they figure it out. I'm just hoping they don't figure it out early and often. I'll just say that. I hope they don't figure it out early and often.
I think the key for Southern when they're on offense, man, whoever lines up under center, and people believe it's going to be Jalen Woods, take care of the football, connect on deep shots to get the defense spread out. You don't want this game to be compact. Because if you can't spread the ball out, and that was Southern's problem last year, Southern didn't do well completing passes over 15 yards. It didn't. Everything was close outside the hashes. Got to be able to complete the ball deep and over the middle. If Southern's able to do that to get this defense spread out, that bodes well. Also, what does North Carolina Central's defensive line looks like against Southern's offensive line? Has that offensive line improved? We'll know fairly early on Saturday. If that offensive line has improved, that bodes well for Southern. And Southern has to take care of the football. There was one thing that was consistent about Southern in its 5 losses: the turnover. Cannot turn the football over. You can't fumble the football. You can't throw interceptions. Can't take unnecessary sacks. Turnovers, taking unnecessary sacks, holding. So many big runs we saw last year called back due to holding. So I think the biggest thing, we have the ball, that offensive line. Was the offensive line we saw the latter half of the season? Have they grown from there? Or is it the offensive line we saw show up in Jackson, Mississippi for the SWAC championship game? You know, we'll see fairly early.
All right, now let's flip it. When the Eagles are on offense versus that Jaguar defense.
Yeah. This is again. I harp back on this, man. This is the grudge match for me. This is the one that I'm going to be paying a lot of attention. Not that I won't be paying attention to the other side of the ball. For BJ, I know BJ probably is like, nah. I'm actually looking at the opposite. I want to see what that offense is going to look like. For me, I want to see. This is the matchup for me. This is the apex matchup of the game for me. North Carolina Central bringing back 9 out of 11 starters on offense. 2 of the guys who we're bringing that they're actually coming. One is coming back to being a starter because he was hurt. So it really is more like 10 out of 11 starters is back. And then the other one got a significant amount of burn, but clearly we wish he could have gotten a little bit more burn at running back. This Southern defense, which is fast, physical, very, very fast and physical. And they got a guy that's going to be playing on, not should be, they got a guy that's going to be playing on Sundays this time next year in Kelby Givens. Can we neutralize him? Can we neutralize him? Can we be creative enough to take him out of the game? You're not going to be able to remove him out the game all the way. That's just not how it works when you got superstars that play on the defensive line. I have never, ever seen, I don't care how good of an offense it is, when somebody got a grown man at defensive line that has pro-style talent, you never eliminate them from the game. What you try to do is you try to minimize their impact on the game by being able to do things creatively that can be able to take their impact and only have their impact inside of a bottled situation. And what do I mean by a bottled situation? Opportunities, certain opportunities, he ends up being able to do what he's naturally going to do, but not all 4 quarters. We cannot let Kelby Givens wreak havoc all 4 quarters. You're not going to be able to eliminate his impact, but you can try to do everything you can creatively from play calling to try to minimize his impact. I expect this linebacking core to be better, which is a young group. I expect this DB room from Southern to be as good as advertised with those guys that they got back there. And they got a couple guys in that DB room. And I think BJ Man said it. That was not on that screen. That's some real deal dogs that y'all don't think I don't went and watch that film. But they some dogs and they get in that rotation and they make an impact. Guys who line up at that nickel corner that can, I mean, these are guys who I believe that if we have not paid attention to these guys, they can come in and create some havoc. But I expect this offense to be as consistent as we saw them be toward the end of the season. But the name of the game is going to be neutralize Kelby Givens and make sure that we take some chances so that we can see if this DB room, which is as good as advertised, can be able to be taken advantage of in spots and in opportunities.
I would say for Southern, we know who Kelby Givens is and we know what he does, and we expect for him to do that. If there was a weakness on the Southern University football team, defensive side of football last year, it was the interior of that defensive line. They were pushed around, particularly about Jackson State. They were manhandled up front and up the middle, and that was kind of consistent in those 5 losses. The defensive ends were solid. The problem was the interior defensive line. That was addressed in recruiting. We'll see if it was addressed in recruiting. Everybody likes their guys in the summer and the spring. All right. But when those live bullets get to flying, you actually get to see what you have. And so that's going to be key, because I think the kid that's going to be wearing number 1 for North Carolina Central at running back, folks, he's special. He is special. And he don't need a lot of room to make it happen either. Matter of fact, if it's not there, he'll make some room somewhere. He's that kind of back. So it's going to be important for that interior defensive line to do their jobs, because if they do their jobs, it's going to make it easier for Kelby Givens. All right. And then that secondary, I think between the defensive backs from Southern University and the receivers from North Carolina Central, those guys and those groups have played a lot of college football. All right. They got some hours under the belt. Who wins those individual matchups? Because Southern will go man to man a lot. All right. They will go man to man a lot. Who wins those individual matchups? And also, can you rattle Walker Harris? All right. Can you rattle Walker Harris? Walker Harris is a solid quarterback. I think he's one of the best in HBCU football. He can be rattled though. Doesn't happen often. Doesn't happen often, but he can be rattled. Can you get him a little bit uncomfortable? Maybe force a mistake or two, and put yourself in your offense in a position to get a short field. So I think that those are going to be the keys when Southern is out on the defensive side of the football.
All right. Well, I'm gonna pull this down. I have one more slide, but what I forgot to put in, and I'll ask you guys this: we got to talk about special teams real quick. Yeah, let's talk about the impact of special teams. Josh, I'll let you go first. Your special teams.
Yeah, man. It starts and ends for me with DT, man. Number 81, Daryl Thompson. This young fella is special, man. He again reminds me of another one of my teammates, man, from when I played at Central. Reminds me a lot of Arthur Goforth, and his ability and his vision. I think he may have taken 2 or 3 punts to the crib last year. And when he's healthy, he's a switch. He's a pinch hitter, man. He's the guy who can be able to help to change the trajectory. We may be in a situation where we in a game, a field position. And when you got a guy like that back there returning punts and returning kicks that can put you in some net positive field position, put you on the other side of the 50 by being able to take a punt and put you in great spots, and always has the speed to be able to take one to the crib and take one to the house. I think he's special. Our kicking game will be as consistent as it's been. I'm not so much worried about our kicking game. I think we got a young fellow who was the number 1 kicker coming out of the state of Florida, which is impressive as well, as far as for our place kicker in our kicking room. So I'm impressed with our kicking, but I'm gonna be honest, it all starts with DT. Daryl Taylor is gonna be the guy that, for me, if he can be able to help us to get some better field position in a game like this, that could very well be a game of field position when you got a guy back there that can return some punts and put you in positive, net positive territory, man, and possibly put you in the green zone. I don't like calling the red zone. Put you in the green zone off a big time kick or a big time punt. That's a positive, man. That's a net positive for me.
Yeah, BJ, Southern's.
I think one of the biggest things is that, man, Southern's replacing some specialists. We talk about place kicker, the punter's back. But that's something that's key, man. Special teams is a third of a game that a lot of people neglect and don't think about. Special teams is how Southern got out of Texas Southern with a win last year. So that's something that's going to be key. Limiting the return game, which is something that Southern did very well a year ago. Limiting the return game. Also, being able to pin people deep. Southern was great at that a year ago, flipping field position. I think that's something key. And then what happens when a drive stalls? How much confidence are you going to have in that place kicker to be able to get the ball, what we call through the H, and do that consistent? Because those points, they count and they make a difference when you have a ball game that may be as tight as this one may be. And then the next thing for Southern on the coverage teams, get the man on the ground quickly as possible, because North Carolina Central has some kids in the return game that can do something special with it. So limit North Carolina Central in the return game. Also, be stout in our own kicking game, and just making sure that we're taking care of everything from a fundamental standpoint. So I think that's something that's going to be key in the special teams.
All right. So we've covered it from every aspect. And now comes the moment of truth. Predictions. All right. So everybody that's watching, I want you to also in the comments put your prediction. Just say who you think's going to win. Also put score. Let's go since I'm feeling all right. You know what? Let's go. BJ, you go first with your prediction.
I always tell. I'm sorry, Rain. I didn't tell you this. I don't do predictions when it comes down to Southern, but I will give you my breakdown.
He does not. That's a true story, dog.
All
He
right.
does not
Hey,
do
give the keys to the game then. Keys to the game for them then.
Keys to the game for Southern, interior defensive line, being able to stop the run, being able to do it consistently. Also up front, I think he who wins up front wins this ball game. And I think that's something that's going to be key. Also for Southern, from the quarterback position, can the quarterback push the ball down the field and make North Carolina Central's defense honest? All right. Can you get them out of the box? Right. Because what you don't want to happen is have North Carolina Central to load the box against you. I think some of the key players in this game, we talked about Kelby Givens, Trey Holly. We talked about the guys in the secondary. But I think that the person, if Southern were to win this game, and this is Southern's key to victory, it's going to be doing these three things. Interior defensive line shuts down the interior of that defense, stop that run game. I think being able to neutralize North Carolina Central's defensive line, also take shots down the field. If you take three, in a perfect world, you hit one. If we hit two, we kick it for joy. We hit three, that's a hell of a day, right? But I think that you need to take at least three shots down the field. And then also, man, quarterback play and play calling has to be night and day better than what it was a year ago. Southern's able to do those things. I like Southern's chances. If Southern fails to stop the run from the interior line defense, from the interior defensive line standpoint, or if the offensive line can't get any push and Southern is one-dimensional, this game has all the chance, all likelihood could get out of hand. And that's something that we don't want.
All right, Josh.
Yeah, man. I actually, I think this is a game it's going to boil down to a war of attrition. In this game, my expectation is that that Southern will take some chances. The success of those chances is what's going to predicate how this score ends up being. I expect Walker Harris to be the Walker Harris that everybody smooth, calm, cool, collected. I expect there to be some pressure, but I think this offensive line with the camaraderie and the continuity that we have up front, and the experience up front, is going to allow for Walker to be able to do his thing. You talk about number one in that backfield, Chris Mosley. I am looking forward to this being the coming out party for Chris Mosley. Zach knows this. BJ knows this. I've been keeping myself quiet all summer, all spring, all summer about this kid. He is special. He is very, very special. And we are lucky to still have him inside of the toe. We said the same thing about Walker. We're lucky to still have him in the toe in the age and day of the transfer portal. And the fact that we got some kids, one is up at UVA, one is up in Minnesota, both of them expected to start in week one at those respective institutions. And, one that we sent down to South Carolina and all of those places, to have one still in the building is going to be incredible. I think the keys to this game for me is let Walker be Walker. Do not ask Walker to be any more or any less than what he is. Allow Walker to be Walker. And if Walker is able to be Walker and he's able to exemplify himself and exemplify the parts of his game that we all have come known to know, if he gets comfortable and you allow him to be himself, he can get comfortable. And if he does that, this game has the ability to be able to go in our favor. The second part of that is, man, we gotta apply pressure on defense, man. We've got to send gas, man. We've got to be able to know early and often if this offensive line can withstand and withhold this type of pressure for 4 quarters from this defensive line, man. We need to let Thomas Johnson, TJ. I said DJ earlier. I meant to say TJ. We need to let TJ wreak havoc and come up the field. We need to let Christian Smith come up the field. We need to let Makai McCall come up the field. We need to let these guys send pressure and open up the lanes for a guy like a Max Urin to be able to be that center fielder right there in the middle of the field, not center field, but be that shortstop, that second baseman right there in the middle, that middle linebacker captain to be able to come down and come play ball and let the other guys that's in that linebacker room, because that's going to be linebacker by committee around Max Urin. Outside of Max Urin, it's going to be linebacker by committee. I expect that room to be one of the deepest ones out there. So we got to apply pressure on this offensive line early and often. We got to test that, and I always call it, you got to test that chin. The offensive line is the chin of an offense, man. If you can punch at that, that's where your knockout power is going to be. It's not going to be in trying to get a whole bunch of interceptions. It's not going to be in trying to be fancy and finesse. It's not going to be in you trying to overthink. You got to send pressure. And then the last key to this game for me is we have to win the margin, the turnover margin, the middle of the field margin, the field position margin, the time of possession margin. We've got to win those old school statistics that show you this can be able to point to you won the game. You won this game. Can we control the clock? Can we win the turnover margin? Can we win the field position margin? If we can win those three, and we got those other pieces, this has the sentiments to get a little bit out of hand if they win those things. If you don't, this game can be very, very close. And if you get into a close game with Southern, as history has shown it with this team last year, if it's close, they going to find a way to try to come out on top. So Central's got to take advantage of the opportunities early and often. They've got to apply pressure. You got to let Walker do his thing. You got to let him be him. Let one be a superstar, the superstar that we know he can be, and control the margins. And if we do so, I believe that is a recipe for North Carolina Central to come out and be very victorious.
Well, I'm really, really excited, and I love everything that you guys said. You guys have been great with just your explanations. And also the thing that I give you guys a whole lot of credit for is that you guys did not show any obvious bias like a lot of us tend to do. You guys saw this thing, you looked at it, you dissected it. I appreciate everything you guys said. Now, for me, my analytics side, I can make a score prediction, and I'm going to here. All summer, I felt that North Carolina Central was the better team. I didn't know by how much, but I always felt that they were the better team. Obviously, because of all the personnel that they had coming back. And then I started looking at things that Southern did to make itself better, not just on defense, but also a few things on offense. I think that this game is going to be a race to 21. I think that this is going to be somewhere in the 28-21 range. And I'm going to give this one to North Carolina Central. But I will say this too for this game. And you guys can comment on this as if you feel, but my feelings are, I think that both teams are going to come out of this game so much better because of the experience of this game. I think that both teams are going to play very, very well. I know a lot of people think that it might not be a close game. I think it'll be a close game. I think both teams are going to play well. I think you guys are going to find some players that are going to answer a lot of questions about your rotations. And I think it's going to better serve you guys as you move forward.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So I appreciate the whole thing. I know you guys are going to definitely break this down on Sunday night on HBCU Recap. On HBCU Nightly on recapping and doing everything on that show. I know you guys, somebody's going to have something good to say. Somebody's going to be like, yeah, well, we got some work to do.
Yeah, well, and that's the game, man. That's this game we love, man. BJ and I, the reason why a lot of people tune in and watch us two on screen together, which is one of the reasons why I think I'm super appreciative of you, brother, for bringing me and my brother and I on the show. Anytime he and I are on the show together, one of the things that we've agreed that we're always going to do is we're going to try to let people into at least a piece of the mind, the football mind that we have. We both collectively have been around this game collectively as far as for years, over 40 years of experience amongst both of us together. Both he and I played this game. BJ played this game on a professional level. Both of us coached this game. Both of us were coordinators. I became a head coach, one of the youngest head coaches in the state of North Carolina's history. And BJ played this game at the level that many of us grow up wanting to be able to play it. That's a pro. man was paid to play this game, and there's a level of understanding as it pertains to this game that we both recognized early that not a lot of people are going to be able to understand, but maybe we can let them in on just a little bit of that understanding. And so when we get a chance to come on shows like yourself, a brother who also understands this game and knows this game, we get an opportunity to be able to do that in ways that we just can't do on Sundays because we got the whole crew on the screen. We on there joking and laughing and playing, and we on there. It's just a fun time. But to your point, to your original point, you're absolutely right. When we come Sunday, we gonna break this game down the way we always have, and we're in season 4 of HBCU Nightly Live. My brother and I created this network, and as well as our sister Erica Lee, we created this network to be able to be a place where people can be able to come and have fun, they get entertained, but they can also be educated, and they get just a little bit of just where our minds are as it pertains to the game of football. And we're glad that you allowed us to come on the show, man, to be able to talk about this game from that perspective, man.
Yeah, and I appreciate you for saying that, because with my platform, I love to share the wealth. You know, some people, you know, they want to they want things to go sort of their way. I love to just have people come on the show and just be themselves, because that brings value not just to the game, it also brings value to the culture. And I appreciate what you guys do. And Josh, like I said, this is the first time that I'm meeting you. Obviously, you've known of me, but now we're meeting personally for the first time. And I definitely want to continue to work with you guys moving forward in any capacity that we can get. You guys want me to come on your show? I got you, you know, and also, you know, I'm going to be looking for you guys later in the year, because it's just week 0, man. We got a long way.
Long way to go.
Long way to go.
It's still August, man.
Yeah, it is. And you know, we got to cover all the overreactions.
And there will be overreactions from this
There
game.
will be. Absolutely.
I've already, matter of fact, I think I put together a list of overreactions that we are going to get. You're going to see someone say this: so and so got exposed. You're going to hear that. Man, we ain't worried about y'all. We saw what happened with blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Or
you got all that in one game, huh?
You got all that
one
from
night,
one
huh?
game.
In week 0.
In week 0.
I'm like, you know, teams look real bad all the time.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at in the power 4, and also group of 5. Yeah. And BJ, you know, you've seen me be very expressive about this. Even, I mean, I'm not even just gonna say professionally. Let's just keep it college. Teams come out in week 1, and look horrible. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the season, they're tearing it up. Mm-hmm. Because this is what builds the character. It's how can you get your team to be better? Even if you win in week 1, week 0, yeah. How can you get your team to bounce back and work on the things that need to be worked on, the intangibles? How do you get guys to get grounded when they seem to get too high after they win? Because, you know, people tapping you on the shoulder, telling you how good you are, all these different things. So yeah. I'm just waiting. I know you guys gonna have this list of overreactions. I know I'm gonna have mine too, because I look at all the stuff that people put on social media. I'm like, okay.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned, and you slightly mentioned that you went there and then you said, no, let's just talk about the Power 4, but you said the pros. I'm glad you said the pros, and then I'm looking in your background and I see them Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
I would not be right if I didn't ask you this, and I'm going
with it.
I'm going to sit here and I'm going to just listen to you because I want to hear this. What happens with Shedeur in Cleveland? What happens from your perspective, from your opinion? I hear the accent because I had a lot of teammates who was from Shaker Heights and from Cleveland. That's from that area, man. Yeah, so I hear the accent, so I know you're a Browns fan for real. You're a Cleveland fan for real. You're from Cleveland. You're from the land.
I am.
So I know that you have a vested interest in this team, and having a guy like a Shedeur inside of the room. What happens, man? What? How does this end up playing out? What happens next? You know this organization. What happens next as it pertains to this?
Yeah. So I live in Columbus, Ohio, and I grew up in Cleveland. I graduated Solon High School, been a long-suffering Browns fan my whole life. All right. I'll admit, all right, it's so funny because I officiate track and field, and I was doing a college track meet. I was at a Division III college at Wilmington College doing a track meet during day 3 of the draft. And all of the runners, they knew that I was a Cleveland guy, and they were like, Mr. Cartwright, you guys still have a few picks. Who do you not want to pick? I was just like, man, I ain't gonna lie. I was like, man, don't pick Shedeur Sanders. Just don't pick Shedeur. The reason why I didn't want Shedeur was because I didn't want the media attention. I didn't want the hype. I didn't want all of the scrutiny because of the history that we have of having bad ownership and bad coaches and bad GMs that screw stuff up. We've had all these different opportunities with different players. So when it comes down to Shedeur, I changed my tune once I started seeing him in camp. Because see, all of the people started talking about, that he's this, he's great, he's that. And I said, well, if he was really that good, why was he until the 5th round? And then also BJ, he was very expressive. He said it. He talked about what he didn't do during the pre-draft process, didn't take it as serious as he should have, wasn't paying attention, came off as being arrogant, all these different things. And then also a lot of people felt like here in Ohio, they were saying that, well, if you get Shedeur, you getting Prime, you getting everything about Prime, you getting his involvement and all that. But where my tune changed is when Shedeur said, Dad, I don't want you attending practice. That said that he wants to carve out his own niche and he really wants to be something. So where ultimately I think where it goes, I think he's going to make the team. I think the odd man out in the whole process is eventually going to be Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
I think that either I don't know if they cut him.
I think they'll trade him.
But I think that they're definitely going to trade him. And I think that what they're going to do is Joe Flacco is 40 years old. He's going to be the starting quarterback. But I think that Joe Flacco is just really that bridge quarterback that's holding the place where I think eventually Shedeur Sanders is going to have to step in there. Now, the other thing that I have in my mind that we still got to deal with is we're still on the hook for $92 million of Deshaun Watson's contract that they pushed off to future years and did like different deferments. And now we don't know what he's going to be because he tore his Achilles, then he retore it. So surely he's not going to play this year. So he's still going to be under contract next year because nobody's going to take him. And we can't cut him because he holds like I don't even remember the salary cap hit. It's ridiculous. So my hope is that Shedeur hits, because if he hits, we got a guy on a rookie contract. And with a rookie contract, you see what that does. You can build teams
off a rookie contract,
especially
a 5th round rookie contract.
Exactly. You saw what the 49ers did.
Yeah, that'll definitely all put some of that money.
Y'all got to pay Mr. Nasty Man. Y'all got to pay Mr. Nasty Man.
We do. Yeah. It's fully guaranteed. You can't get out of it. And when we,
I heard somebody call my man Massage Watson. It was crazy, bro. I cried.
And the killer part is, this is how crazy how it's always been with us Browns, man. Jimmy Haslam comes out and says all that stuff about Deshaun Watson, and then homeboy up there at the wedding. Yeah. At the wedding, taking pictures. So
this is the thing that got me with Browns fans in Mr. Nasty Man. They knew he was Mr. Nasty Man when he got there, but they was all supporting him, right? Yeah.
Hey.
But once they figured out that Mr. Nasty Man couldn't play anymore and he wasn't the same Mr. Nasty Man he was down there in Houston, they was done.
Oh yeah.
You can be nasty, but if you ball, we can overlook.
We can deal with it.
Hey, and then you know what also is real bad too is now I've seen Baker Mayfield win the division title twice.
Yeah, ain't gonna win it again this year.
Probably gonna win it again this year.
Yeah, win the division twice. Yeah. And he won the playoff game for us. So I don't know. I hope Shedeur makes our team because I seen the promise. I seen what's there. He just has to continue to work harder and develop to the craft. And we really got a good staff. We do with Cleveland. We just have to get out of our own way
Yeah.
We just gotta get our own way.
The only
You
time
can send Shador to Pittsburgh. I mean, it's all good.
You can send Shador to Carolina for real, for real. The Bryce Young project is coming to his end.
Well, you know, it's really funny now. It's funny you say that as well, because the way things are working now, and this is where, I mean, I watch Caleb Williams. I'll use him for example. Caleb Williams looked really, really good against Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
The trend now is they draft a first round quarterback. Remember how it used to be? We draft you in the first round. We will ride you until we know you are going to ultimately fail.
Mm-hmm.
Now they give you one season, maybe 1.5. And if you're not doing it, it's like, oh, well, we need to start looking.
Yeah,
Look at Kenny Pickett already.
Look at Anthony Richardson.
Yep. The 4th pick of the draft already. Looking like, well,
they went and got Daniel Jones, man.
Daniel Jones
from the New York Football Giants, who won a resounding 3 games last year.
Yeah, had one real good year. One good year, went to the playoffs, gets a 4-year contract.
Yep.
You know,
they replaced Anthony Richardson with Daniel Jones. So I mean, you're right. I think we've just gotten to the place that we've given Bryce more than that. We've given him enough time. It just, come on, man. I think that the kid's still gonna have a place in this league. I just don't think that he's the quarterback that we need here in Charlotte to be able to get that done. But we'll see what happens. We're in the easiest division in all of NFL, in all of football. We're gonna see what happens. You know what I mean? Us, New Orleans, Atlanta, all 3 of us fighting to be last.
Look, BJ, like, don't even get started on Atlanta.
Shout out my dog KJ.
I'm a Steeler fan.
Yeah, I know. But you
I
live
don't
in
care
Atlanta.
about Atlanta at all. Hey, I give them hell every chance I get. My wife is a Falcons fan, so the jokes will fly.
They fumbled. They fumbled Michael Vick, man.
Yeah, Michael Vick kind of fumbled himself.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. You gotta have some fall guys.
Yeah, somebody gonna take the fall for that. No, we're not saying that officially. That's off the record.
Hey, but fellas, I appreciate both of you. Hit me up, man. Like I said, love to work with you guys. This was a great show. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Catch these guys Sunday night. Will be 8 Eastern, right?
8 Eastern, 7 Central, man. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, I'll definitely be checking y'all out, man.
Wayne, man, we got to get you on the networks. Get some shows on the network. Get you on some of these shows on the network, man. Real.
Hey, hit me, man. We connected now.
Absolutely. Let's get it done, man. Let's see if we can get it done.
We'll do it. All right, fellas. We'll see you.
All right, family.
All right, Wayne.
All right, guys. All right, everybody. That is our show for tonight. What I want to make sure that everybody does, make sure that you hit that like button. Make sure that you subscribe. And also, this is just the first episode of Wild Picks. Wild Picks will be on every Wednesday. Next week, we will be back with you. We'll have a very full slate of games to get into. So we've got a whole slate. And then also, my premiere of Sunday Recap will be starting not this Sunday, but the next Sunday, where we'll recap everything and have a good time. So appreciate Josh Sims and BJ Jones for the breakdown of the MEAC SWAC Challenge. Everybody, make sure that you check that game out. Make sure you watch it, support it, and also make sure that you support all HBCU athletics, not just football, support all HBCU athletics, all right, throughout the entire season. So, Wild Wayne Cartwright, thank everybody for joining me here on Wild Picks, and we'll see you next time. Good night.
Thank you for joining us on the ride with Wild Wayne Cartwright. As you exit the ride, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit the like button, and catch up on all of our prior episodes. Until next time, God bless.